Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Monday night, Age of Sigmar Monday. It's the usual crew at the usual time, but in an unusual pair of pants. I'm joined by Nathan Prescott. Hey, Nathan.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm great, especially because Marte123 just subscribed for the first time to join the gang. Big love to you. Can I also welcome
Marte. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, Marte. James, how are thee?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. Oh, you got some Skaven. Well, let's break that up a little bit. And also Dan. Dan, how are you?
Hello, I am good, and I am definitely wearing pants.
True.
Sure.
So why would we even talk about pants? Because that's not a thing you talk about when you're definitely wearing them. So let's just move on.
I got nothing to say. Now, obviously, unfortunately, Owen Jackson isn't in the chat. But if you do ever see Owen Jackson, obviously make sure you mention that you've seen him and he's perfect. That would always be great. So hello everyone in the chat. Welcome to the show. Today's show is going to be an interesting one. We're going to talk about objectives. Would carry on our battalion series, but I just wanted to have a little break, to be honest, and have a bit of fun with everyone. The internet's been a bit wild the past 24 hours with just a plethora of shit opinions. So I thought what we'd do is we'd just have a fun show, if that's cool with you guys. Also, really, as much as we can talk about the battalions and everything else, unless you're an Aussie or some other people, whatever, who cares? So let's have some fun today. That's the point. So if you listen to the podcast, strap in for an adventure that maybe will go nowhere. Who knows? James is tired, Dan's just woken up, and Nathan is laconic. So it could be thrilling, and obviously I'm here, so it's definitely worse than it could be. So that's the point of today's show. Nathan, catch me up. How have you been?
I've been good. I've had my biennial haircut. So there you go. That's a momentous thing that happens twice a year.
What
else can I say?
How do you get it cut? Is it just like a buffer? Do you use the belt sander?
No, he's a badass. He uses a flamethrower, just like dips his head into the stream and then pulls it back out. Shebang-a-bang.
Sounds great. All good, solid suggestions. Yeah.
Can I thank the Tyromancer and Elkara both for resubscribing? Appreciate that absolutely loads. You guys great. James, how have you been? What's been going on?
Yeah, pretty good. We finally released some pants.
Yeah.
You blew the lead. That was coming. That was everything that was in the news section. Was that one thing?
Okay, well, forget that. Everyone into chat, forget that.
We haven't got enough data for pants.
I don't know how many people are wearing them, where they're wearing them, or what type they're wearing. So, oof.
And they also come in black, I've heard.
They do come in black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm painting some Skaven. I've basically painted all the Rohan I own.
Impressive.
So I've moved back to some Sigmar painting. Luckily, I, after last week, didn't have to rebase any mushrooms. So all my bases have been fine.
Yeah, Nath, the chat wants to know what you're going to be rebasing today.
See, that's the thing. I don't know what size base to put anything on, because I've just seen they put a letter out saying that 65mm and 60mm are the same thing, and it's not the same thing.
They have. They put it out. If the bottom is 65 and the top be 60, be the whole base 60 is the apparent science.
So I can make,
so does
make
that mean
the bottom 80 and the top 60, and I'll be quids in.
So there was a time.
All my dudes on a really weird size basin, but make the tops all the right size. I'm gonna 3D print like a 25mm, but on like a 92mm, and just be like, "This is a clan rat's footprint."
If anyone doesn't know what we're referencing, last week Nathan discovered that they resized the size of his mushroom. However, Games Workshop have replied to some people who'd emailed out of interest what's going on today, and it turns out that the bottom is the same as the top. And that's how economics work. So we're all smarter for that. So
well, thanks. I mean, if Wall Street Bets has taught us anything, the bottom can be the top. And blessed be those absurd human beings. I adore watching that story unfold. It's a long one for anyone who doesn't quite understand it, but it's hilarious.
We do have real news.
What?
Oh, I'll do it in the news section.
Do it in the news section.
I just super quickly want to say, I saw in the chat, Mr. Gabe from the Rune Axe is in the chat, and I just wanted to say hello. I miss your gorgeous face as well, and I'm so stoked that you get to do the team championships this year.
Yes, Rune Axe Team Championship. It's not for a few months, though, is it?
Not until November, unless I have missed the date significantly in that one. But obviously, Australia doing pretty good with the whole Coco Vovo, so they get to see each other from the nose down in person. Woohoo! But it's always a massive event that sells out very, very quickly, and I'm kind of devoed that I don't get to see it because you can't be on a plane right now.
Is devoed what you guys say instead of devastated?
Yes.
We use that here, good. Rob.
Pardon me?
We use that here.
No, we don't see. No one says devoed.
They do if they're like if they're under 18, hip and cool, like Dan, then they use Devo.
No, they've never said Devo, ever.
Find an 18-year-old at the next event in 2042.
I specifically will not do that. What are you doing today, Rob? I'm mainly looking for an 18-year-old. Welcome to the team.
I'm going to look for an 18-year-old and make them say words to me. Like, sit down. I'm going to give you just a list of words, and I want you to speak them at me. Okay, cool. Why is the first one daddy? Stop asking questions and read the words.
Right, okay, good, James. I'm glad you're well. Dan, are you well? What's going on?
Yeah, good. It's been a wearying week. I don't even think that there's been a lot of drama to weary me out. I feel a tinge of the weir. And so that's great because all we'll do is like a good little bit of hobby chicken soup for the soul will be good. I'm currently putting together like kind of Pinterest. I know that this is going to sound dumb. In the chat, if you do a similar thing, I'd love for you to make me feel less dumb. Is like when I'm painting up an army or about to start painting an army, I'll put together like a Pinterest board of like colors and styles, and some of it's models and other it's stuff from real life like that I want to try and create when I start painting. And so that's what I'm putting together right now.
That sounds way too dedicated.
Yeah. Can you do a Pinterest of loads of boobies to look at while you're painting?
That's not.
I'll like pick up a paint and be like.
That's literally just Google anything. That's like just type in anything into Google and then put 34 at the end.
Yeah.
What did you say, James? Sorry.
I like my painting is. I'm like, is this brown? Looks brown. I use a brown.
It's a good system. That's a good system. I've got some models I want to paint up sometime soon after my Death Guard, and I'm a little bit concerned. I might use an airbrush for the first time, and I want to do an aquatic themed paint job, and I'm going to have to look some stuff up. I was looking at various frogs earlier, and I was like, I wonder if I could paint this frog like that frog. And you're right. I know a lot of people wondering what I am painting up. Of course, it's Dispossessed. That's exactly
frogs.
Nathan, little quick one. This is just a nugget from social media this week, which I enjoyed. I just wanted to pass it over to you and just get your thoughts on it. I was on a Facebook thread, unfortunately for me, talking about the FAQ. And one of the things that came up, someone said, I don't really know why they do the FAQ. Obviously, it's to balance stuff. And I know there's some broken things, like being able to put stack Forge Fire onto hammerers. But even though I smash all my locals with it, I don't know if it needs to be nerfed. Thoughts?
Tell that guy to go and play 20 games against some 9-taunt and wind his neck in.
He was the most confident person I've ever seen. He's like, I keep stacking Forge Fire on my hammers, and basically it's pretty much breaking the game, but I haven't done anything about it.
These guys are red and 3, shall we? It's 20-0? Sure.
Anyway. So hello Twitch chat, welcome to the team. I hope you're all well. Thanks for joining us and getting those numbers up. We obviously are on the path to partner, which is very exciting because if we do get partner, it means we can have loads more emotes. So if you're a subscriber, then you will be able to get loads of emotes, which is super fun because we've got loads of fun stuff that we could do. Don't forget also this weekend we're going to be doing live coverage. This weekend coming live coverage of the TTS event, or two different TTS events. So that's going to be super fun. In news, though, although there is some hot news, a White Dwarf has leaked, and we've discovered what Teclis actually does at the end of the next Broken Realms book, but we won't talk about that for spoilers, because we don't want to spoil things for us all, because that won't be really fun. And James, this is time for you to bring the news.
The pants news.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two things of news.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly, there's Undergargants on the website, finally. It's only taken me 3 months. Not as long as Objective Rings.
Way longer than that. Like when was the
not as
Gargant's
long
book
as
out?
A while ago. I mean, yeah, we're in lockdown. There was no data on pant sizes.
Does time matter?
Am I going to have to do this joke all the time?
Yeah.
Till the end of time.
So there's some pants, and then I threw some masks on, and actually more people I think have brought masks.
Really?
Yeah.
To be fair, you could use the masks as pants also. It depends on how...
That is true. Depends how big the ear hoops are.
I mean, it is lockdown. You don't really need to wear pants, do you?
True.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Dan knows.
Oh, no, I don't know. Seems like a pretty good way to still be a functioning human, to put pants on in the morning, especially when you're on camera to 100-odd people and talking to 3 people directly. You should wear pants.
Is that what it says on Pinterest?
No, that's just a life hack.
Oh.
Wear pants. Terrible move if you forget it, to a job interview as well.
Depends what you're interviewing for.
That's very true. Can one of the emotes just be shove it in me pants? Like it should. Like I feel like if it's not just a pair of undergargants, just for when things should be put into the pants, I would be very disappointed.
Yeah, sure. We can definitely do that. Yeah, Nathan's face is on those pants. A John Scriven special drawing has done a Nathan's face is on the pants, so you can get those in either white or black pants. If I'm right, I think that they're ultra rich cotton. Is the correct way of describing it. I'm not very good at upselling the merch, but I'm going to say that it's probably the best pair of pants that you'll ever get from a wargaming channel. Just going to put that out there. So I would argue probably
that's what all the data says.
Never gets old.
The only thing that I'm disappointed by is that when you Google Undergargants, obviously our search engine optimization aren't perfect yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gives me a lot of what look to be like girdles and like hip control underwear.
No, that's what we're selling.
Oh, okay, great. Because, to be honest, I could use one. I could absolutely use one.
That's how you get it in your pants.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. What are the news? You seem to have more news than that.
So my other news, I think I messaged you about it. So the other news is that, being a nerd, I missed the Reddit hype on buying shares in GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
I did, for anyone that follows me on Twitter has probably realised, brought some Dogecoin.
Good.
Because why wouldn't you?
Turns out that was a great move for you.
Well, it's gone back up again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're going to the moon. To the moon.
The moon. Just little statement, obviously, none of us are financial advisors. We are all Harambes. So important points to note from the language of the internet. But yeah, to the moon would be good. And also, let's not forget and let's not hope that all the investment bankers, obviously, lose all of their money and are only left with their mansions and champagne or whatever else they fucking have.
I think that's the thing. The reason that I've loved it the most is that no one's suffering. Like, no one's going to go bankrupt over this. No one's going to lose their superannuation, their 401k or anything. All it's doing is just kind of redistributing from the people who were like mega rich. They are still very, very rich, but some of that is being siphoned off to other people. And I really love that. And the other one that warms my heart, I don't know if you guys have seen this, I saw it, is that move now from a lot of them where they're taking the money they made investing in GameStop to GameStops, buying products at the bricks and mortar stores to support like the local employees and
because they saved
local
1,400
economy.
jobs in theory.
And then taking those like Nintendos and Xboxes to the children's hospitals and donating them. Like, oh my God, Reddit, stop giving me such joy and happiness. I would like to be sad. But
my favorite comment
happy.
I saw on all of Reddit was someone was like, we've always been, I can't say the word, I'll use a different word, I'm not sure, T's and C's on Reddit. On Twitch. It was like, we've always been idiots. Yeah, it's like, no, what was it? It was, they think that we're being idiots, and that's the thing. We're always going to be idiots. And I was like, brilliant. That's great. So I obviously won't say that word. Right. So anyway, back to knots.
So that all started.
Haven't you been getting advanced financial advice from one of our show friends?
Well, I think it was the other way around, because while I was sat doing my Dogecoin, I was like, I haven't been on Earth 2 in a while.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'd just like to tell all our avid listeners and fans of Warhammer 2 on Earth 2 that it's increased by about 6,000%.
How much is Games Workshop 2 worth?
Quite a lot of money. So this all started because I talked about buying my house originally on the show, right?
Right.
That's why we brought Games Workshop. So I brought my house for $2.64. And I put it for sale a little while ago for a stupid amount of money. Haven't been on the website for a while. Logged in the other day, found out I'd made $200 because someone brought my house.
Wow.
Here we
I
go.
can't imagine how much Games Workshop is worth. I'm excited.
So Games Workshop...
Speckles a rich man?
Currently in the chat, Speckles says, currently Games Workshop car park, which Speckles owns. I would like you to know that all the Honest Wargamers have all got most of Earth 2 Games Workshop stuff related. Speckles owns the car park. It's on sale now for £1,000 if anyone is interested.
It gets better because Warhammer World is for sale.
What, you put it up for sale?
Yeah, I put it up for sale. If anyone would like to buy it, Games Workshop included. It's a steal because share prices are through the roof. It's only £100,000.
How much did we buy it for?
About 30 quid. However, it's currently in Earth 2 money worth about £1,500.
Wow.
Okay.
So I'm only overcharging slightly at 100,000.
But can I just say that Speckles actually has the move here, because he who controls the parking lot controls the access.
Yeah.
As much as
that's important,
anyone who may control GW in Earth 2 might be just finger on the pulse and in control of that. If Speckles closes the parking lot, not even your staff can get in. So I keep him happy. Yeah.
It's also worth noting, just because it's important, the Bulawayo, the ice cream shop, it's now worth $6.
Eskies.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut joke for only the Bulawayo fans out there, which is me and Nathan.
Unusual. Normally inflation is a lot higher over there. Never mind.
Again, a deep cut African economy joke there. Let's probably move on to Warhammer. That's what we'll do.
Okay.
Oh my god. Right, so news from the Warhammer world, or Warhammer generally, not much, almost none, since last week. Obviously, the FAQ dropped, and since then, not much in the world has overly changed. So that's it. There's nothing new, particularly on the horizon, nothing on pre-order, nothing like that. So the game is as was, will be, and always will be. There's not really much to unpack. And that's it in the news section, because there is none, simply put. Looking forward to all the Broken Realms, obviously. Sorry, Hawkeye. I'd also like to say thanks to Hawkeye for making a suggestion on helping me with the printers, which is very nice. Nathan, I just want to quickly let you know that I am printing. I've started work. I finished the Elven board for the bottom rows, them two. Screw those two. And I've started work on a Dwarven board.
Yeah, nice.
Good call.
Dan would have been happy 2 years ago.
You are?
Dan would have been happy with the dwarf board 2 years ago. Now he just wants to play on the elf board.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point. Swaggy Shadow Sword, good point. I will bring that up. So, units now. So, the latest Warcry Warband, thank you to Velatron, and also lovely to see him, and also Swaggy Shadow Sword. Units with the new Warcry Warband is pointed at 125 points. Why that is interesting, of course, is that there now is units with a round number of 5 as opposed to zeros. It's always been zeros. So we might be going to a more granular point system in the future. I think that's only a positive thing. I don't know how much further we can explore that. But, Dan, you got any thoughts on there being 5 points in it between different units?
Look, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm there are brighter crayons in the box than myself, and so when we start to get granular, I don't know. I initially didn't love the change from Warhammer Fantasy, where it was like you pay points per model, then you pay points per 1 point to give every model in the unit a shield, 2 points to give every model in the unit a great weapon. Like it was, and it'd be like you'd have units of 33 because then 2 characters would go in there to fill up 2 spaces to give you a full block of 35, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't initially like that change because I love the micromanaging. Having played as much Age of Sigmar now as I have, I actually really love the open-ended stuff, and I like that it locks you in, because there you have those units where you can take them in 5s, and then it becomes a really interesting decision. And you've got units that you have to take in blocks of 10 or blocks of 20. And I think that that's a really awesome one as well. So I don't love it as if it goes all the way that way. Like if it ends up going all the way into like tiny, really infinitesimal micromanagement. However, like 5s and 0s is totally okay to me. Like I'm okay at going in the half mode, all because like there are definitely times where it's like that extra 5 should lock people out. When you're putting together a list and you're like, oh, I'm down by 10 points. I'm over, by 10 points. And the only thing you can knock stuff off will take you down by like 120 points. So you're like, okay, now I have to put in 100, like you're trying to like squeeze and thread the needle. I think it's wicked. So I'm all about it. I don't mind going down to that kind of spot. What I hope is that it doesn't mean we see like grots suddenly able to be taken in blocks of 5 or something like that. Because I kind of like it the way it is in that regard. But no, points wise, going 5s and 10s, super fine.
Yeah, okay. Nathan, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, it's not that. I mean, I'm surprised because they don't know the difference between 60 and 65. So,
yep,
but there you go. Hopefully, this will learn them something, that there's a difference between 60 and 65, and they can say what 65 is 65 and 60 is 60. Motherfuckers.
My favourite bit that you're really triggered.
Different numbers.
Yeah. So I think one of the issues is 5 cross and a free Alariel. Dude, day, big love to you. I like it as it is now, and it stops some of that min-maxing that we've seen. 40k is Gitly. I think that makes a better game. I think also, Evening Collaroo, Jack Summers, I hope you're all well. I would argue that like one of the really nice things about the game is you always talk about you talk about a list. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. Marauders. You're taking 20, you're taking 40, and that's it. Like that's your kind of granularity in how you build your list and how the game plays out. I think it's good for them. Like whenever they try to balance stuff. Personally, I think whenever they try and they're like, okay, what Marauders, what cost should they be, or what cost should anything be? obviously they're like, well, these are only going to be in these multiples at any one point. So what works well in that situation, I think is a positive. I think when you start to mix it up by model, which I really hope they don't do, and it doesn't. There's no indication that that's the case. It's just an indication that they're going to change stuff by 5, which is actually really exciting for balance kind of like updates in the future via FAQs or GHBs, because then instead of the whole all of the armies going up plus or minus 10 points, now it can plus or minus by 5. It can just take a lot longer for those units to change. So if anything, that's a positive. As it's the only way I can see it. So I think that's good. James, you got any thoughts on it?
I'm really excited for the 7s.
In what way?
You mean
I'm
the
really
rugby
excited for
sevens,
there to
right?
be units that end in 7s, but none that end in 3. So that every list is like, I've got 3 left over.
I personally would. I like that it's gone to 5 points because, like, I think it works. It doesn't really matter on monsters or large scale models, but it works well on things like skinks. Because maybe skinks should be 80 points, maybe they should be 85, right? Like maybe there's like a minute difference because you're normally buying a lot of them. You're buying 30 or 40 or 80, whatever the situation.
I think also on the large units, it allows them the ability to discount. You take in 40, you save, and some of the units it's like 80 points if you take the max. It almost gives you ability to be like, do you know what? If you take, instead of taking 10, 10, 10, 10, if you take 40, we're going to reduce it by 5 for each lot. It allows you to maybe have more manipulation over those sorts of things, I think. Or them, not us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, fair points. Fair points. I think any sort of granularity is good. I don't necessarily. How would you guys feel about? Because this is one of the things that has come up since. How would you feel about having to pay for upgrades? So if you had to pay for one character had a hammer, one character had a sword, let's say, and you had to pay for the sword, or if you had to pay for relics or artifacts, anything like that, would you be good, positive, negative?
Yeah, I don't mind. But I would prefer that they would just give them a separate line in a war scroll. In their points thing. Like they did with back in the day with when Harbinger Chamber or whatever the heck it was, and it was like prosecutors with javelins versus prosecutors with hammers with different points. Easy. I think that I find that more interesting competitively than being like pay per model per upgrade.
I understand what you mean.
I probably think 40k, one of the beauties of AOS isn't it? That you're like, here is a squad of, I don't know, liberators. They all have hammers. One guy has a big hammer. Done. Is much more friendly than that weird thing in 40k where you're like, cool, here's 5 Marines. This guy's got a plasma pistol and a sword, but this guy's got a bolt pistol and a gun. Oh, and this guy's got in a game that's more hand to hand. I just want to roll 30 dice. I don't want to be like, oh, this is 2 for this guy and 2 for this guy and 4 for this guy and 6, which is why I'd never play Ironjawz.
I personally think that the way we have it now is brilliant. I really do. I think you buy them in units, blocks, and it be X. And so some positive changes Games Workshop have made over the past few years are when they've limited the number of bodies. Not Hearthguard Berserker change, not you. That was a problem. But positives are things like Stormfiends, when they were right, no longer blocks of 9, because obviously you can stack buffs on them, but only in blocks of 6. And I think that that's a really good change. And I think that there's a clear kind of understanding that the overlapping buffs you could put onto 9 was too much, so we'll just take the unit cap down to that. But I also that you just buy the box, that's your unit, right? I've got 5 dudes. This is my box. I know that there are some examples of that not being the case, but I think it's really positive for list building. I think it's great for on the tabletop. I think it's great for I think it's good for them balancing stuff if they wanted to do such a thing. I think that that's a real positive as well. So I think ultimately the way it works right now is great, and I also obviously play 40k, and sometimes that's a little bit overwhelming, in some ways. Am I taking and with the inclusion of the new blast rules, let's say, where if you have a certain number of models, you get more you get more on a random amount of attacks, so you D6. So, or you get a flat number basically. So, it's even more challenging when you're writing your lists, unless obviously you're tanking the chat, because apparently he can write lists that just can get played by anyone and just win the Nopen. So well done to Tank on obviously being brilliant. Nathan, it's quite funny. Big shout out to Tank, by the way, who's going to be on the show tomorrow. He wrote the list that won the Nopen as of yesterday, last night, which is great. And then his Age of Sigmar army is complete Spider-Fang. He's really pushing those envelopes.
That's great. That's what I've got lined up as loads of spider fangs. So, yeah.
You two should battle it out.
Good man. Yeah.
You should battle it out.
But going back to the point with the different weapons, I mean, it does put the pressure on the rules writers that they have to balance both sets of weapons. If you're going to pay 100 points for a unit of dudes, and they can come equipped with a variety of different weapons, then the rules writers have to try and make sure that all those different weapons are different but also equal.
Well, there's a big...
Because you're playing the same points.
Yeah, I think the other issue with Sigmar isn't it? And I know we talk about it occasionally, but if we're narratively writing rules, in 40k, they did that thing recently, didn't they? They were we've released a Space Marine book, every bolt pistol's changed, every bolt gun's changed, plasma gun, blah, 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 blah. They're all in this book. Everyone uses the same gun. Not every army has a Star Soul Mace or whatever the Stormcast have. I think that's your other issue in Sigmar, is you can't just be oh, we've changed the rules on bolt pistols. That's 50%, that's 100% of bolt pistols are changed, because everyone has the same one.
Right.
Whereas in Sigmar, everyone has a different bow. So unless
I love that. I love that though. I like Sigmar better because for list writing.
What I mean is I think you'd narratively take tons out of the game by trying to balance it individually on weapons. And actually it just makes more sense to add in 5 points on a unit to be we can make smaller adjustments to balance it in. It'd be interesting, I think, to see some battalions drop by 15 points because they don't need to drop 20.
Yeah, chain shows, not Trogherd. The great points being made in the chat, I think. Collar says, I wouldn't hate points per model in AOS, but you'd have to completely rebalance points from the ground up. A Dwarf Penguin says, but how can they balance the points, different weapons, if there's absolutely no data? Good point. Do you think we'll be paying points for smaller bases size next, says Jack Summers. Velatron says, I don't like flexibility on units, but ability to pay for additional artifacts would be cool. I think that actually that's the one that excites me. I think being able to pay for artifacts would be interesting. I think that would be fun. I quite liked paying points back in the day for your magic items, at least. I think that would be nice, but it's a clear indication that, I mean, we've had a long conversation about it, but ultimately, maybe they've just decided that they're going to do 5 points as well as 0 points, and that's all that we're going to see in Age of Sigmar 3. Fine. Apart from, obviously, the smaller bolts is 100% confirmed. So, I think that's interesting. All right, okay. That was a good chat about that. Should we get on with the subject of the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Twitch chat. Right, we're getting into this. This is meant to be a fun old laugh, so I want as many random hilarious suggestions as you guys have got. So, something that came up on the show when I was talking to John a few days ago, which I thought was a fun show. I think it was Saturday. We talked about objectives. Now, obviously, in Age of Sigmar, you get terrain pieces sometimes, and then Lumineth. Dan, James, quick one. Do you think you guys will be getting a terrain piece finally with your army with the update?
Who knows?
Oh gosh,
probably not.
Maybe. Then again, maybe we will, maybe we won't. They haven't really shown anything off, and I imagine they would have by now. I don't know.
I honestly don't care. I think so many of those terrain pieces look cool on a board, but are actually absolutely pointless in the game. That I'd rather just have a cool piece of terrain made and buy it and have it as a piece of terrain.
But you guys aren't thinking, like Desert Sketch, he's into it. You guys aren't thinking outside the box. A barn for all the cows. There's so many, a pile of rocks. Yeah?
I mean, if it's a can of Foster's, I'm in.
What if it's a blacksmith who's just making fancier and fancier hats?
Good point. No, a hatter. Well, what's it called if someone's a hat? Like they make hats.
A hattery.
No, but the person, what's their job? Because I just that person sitting there, just like freaking bashing out hats, being like, "What is it? It's a kangaroo. What is it? It's a cow. What is it? It's a sea dragon." There we go. And they're just like, "Oh my gosh!" And whatever you get makes it good. Like I kind of a haberdasher. Whatever, I don't know. It's
a milliner, says that posh boy from London in the chat. Yeah.
See, the thing I kind of like. It's hard because obviously not all of them are created equal, and for me, the model for the Ogre Moor Tribes Moorpot is spectacular, and its rules are interesting, and they've got a little bit of an effect. But they're not game changing, you know, like it's just one more little element to your game. And I really enjoy that. But then you have others like the freaking Ossiarch Nexus that just completely changes the shape of the battlefield you're fighting on.
Hey, so that's going to be such a fun piece of terrain in a board that's 25% smaller. Can't wait.
Yeah. So I don't know. And like, that's for me is where I'm like, I'm kind of excited to get one, but I am now, I've been feeling it for a little while, starting to feel a little bit of rules bloat. There's my army, and then there's the terrain that we've got on the board, and then there's the mission and the secondary objectives and my army objectives, and now agendas and stuff starting to creep in. There's realms, there's all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to play the game. And I know that I can choose to strip any of it out, but I'm a completionist. I like to 100% the games that I play. So I want it all, and I'm finding I just need to kind of chill out a little bit, I guess.
Such a journey you went on in that time.
Yeah, I thought that. I like the fact he did that all himself. No one even spoke, and he was like, "I need to chill out."
So
I need to be less intense in that regard. Give me less, so I don't want more.
Can I thank Spezia Poet for donating $2 for support over on YouTube? Appreciated loads. And anyone who does it. For instance, also Hearthstone, who subscribed recently. Love the work, guys. Keep it safe, everyone. Thank you so much. That's really lovely. I was throwing myself off there. So what I was going to say was, and a new subscription. Oh, no. Is that right? No. What was I going to say? So terrain features. Dan, you're right. There's lots to unpack when it comes to this. So you might not like the next section, which I'm going to suggest, right? Which is what the purpose of the show is going to be. So one of the fun elements, I think, of the game of Age of Sigmar specifically is going and grabbing the objectives. The reason that this has become something that has sung to me recently is we were talking about like the impetus or the drive of the different armies when they're battling in the realms or battling on the tabletop whenever. So whenever you're playing your battle against your friend, even if it's a match play game, and of course this is only a narrative based show now. We don't actually discuss match play narrative only because match play is only apparently for arseholes. It is everything I've understood from the internet in the past 24 hours.
That's what the data says, yeah.
That's what the data says from people who I imagine were punched in the head a lot as a kid. So so one of the fun elements I thought, was we could discuss the impetus for the different armies, and if you were going to make an objective marker, a physical objective marker, right?
I was going to say, because I made enough of them.
I know, right?
See, I'm super excited for this conversation because I am someone who makes physical objective markers that are themed for all of my armies, and it was a big thing for a little while in Australia, so I think this is going to be a fun conversation.
I think it is going to be a fun conversation, right? I'm really excited about this chat. Right, so what I'm saying is me and Nathan used to play Age of Sigmar, and I used to bring these little objective markers, which were cabbages, and like they were different varieties of vegetables. And Nathan sometimes intentionally wouldn't even hold the objective because he didn't want the cabbages. Like it was hilarious.
It's stupid. Who the hell would go to war just to nick some cabbages? Fucking
well, were you using a Maw Crusher? Because then it could be like Cabbageception. It's a cabbage inside of a cabbage.
Yeah.
No, I don't want a cabbage.
So, I thought Nathan used to be really triggered by it, and I really liked it. So I want suggestions from the chat right? I want this to be really creative and us together. We're going to talk about each army individually, and then what you could put or build or make as an objective marker for your different objectives. Because I think it would be very cool. And actually, I don't imagine I'm going to play in the future without like a themed set of objectives, because it's one of those really fun things that you get to add to your army, Dan, James, and Nathan. I think without I think it's a cool little element, right, that you bring along with you. I don't know. Have you got Dan? You said you've done it before.
Yeah. And what I also used to do at tournaments, and I really enjoyed it, is I would make up a set of 5 extra objective markers that matched my army, and I'd give one to each of my opponents, so they always had a little bit of a dwarven ruin for them.
Yes. Oh, did you? What, you had runes?
Ruins.
Ruins.
And so like little dwarven ruins that I'd build up and put on a little, like just a 32 or 40 mil base. And one thing that was actually kind of cool is that a couple of the people I played went and desecrated them, and like in the style of their armies. So then when I faced them at their next tournament, they were like, let me just grab out my objective here. And then they'd put it down, and I'd be like, do you recognize anything? I'm like, you stop that, you filthy monster. Like, one was a Bone Splitters player, and it was like this dwarven face, like this dwarven statue face was the one that I'd given him, and he'd painted like teeth on it and like green paint all over the skin. I was like, this is really, really cool. So I think there's something really fun you can play around with them too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm really into this. All right. So Twitch chat, first one who says it, chaos, death, destruction, or order. Whoever says it first, that is the kind of like Grand Alliance that we'll go through first, and we'll go through the different armies. I'm excited about this, obviously. And Death won it. Darker Design. Congratulations. So we'll start with that. We'll start with Ossiarch Bone Reapers. It feels like bones, a pile of bones, super boring. You would like...
A bed.
A bed?
They put me to sleep. I would fight over a bed to go to have a nap rather than play Bone Reapers any day.
Well, okay. You know what you could do? You could do one that's a pile of bones, and one that's a pile of like skin and flesh and meat, where they've like taken all of that off the bones to use.
Yeah, you could.
Would be
you could.
Kind of creepy, I guess.
It could. Nathan, you got any thoughts on this? Go on.
Well, I mean, obviously...
let Nathan go first.
Sorry, yeah. Obviously, everything in Age of Sigmar has to be realm stone or aether quartz or something. So, aether bones? Realm bones?
Realm bones. Realm bones is a good one.
them realm bones.
Now that's all I've got in my head. Just 40 more take going. Them bones, them realm bones. I'm gonna get me some realm bones. That's why they're smiling all the time on their face. They're singing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those lads. Actually, yeah, just a fucking toothbrush for their grinning faces.
Okay. So a lot of people, glass of milk for all the calcium. That's a good suggestion. More skulls, captured He-Man, vitamin D tablets, obviously. Pile of Catacross cod pieces. I thought I saw a suggestion for the screaming guy on the what's it called? Not the crawler, the harvester, the crotch gremlin. 6 different crotch gremlins that need to be rescued for some particular reason. I think it would be a good idea. Also, Nathan, a quick little bit of shade being thrown at you in the chat. Colonel Cabbage says he doesn't know why you would never fight over the cabbages. He's quite upset, truthfully.
Why would I want to fight over cabbages? It's not anything I've got cabbages. My own cabbages. I don't want his mouldy old cabbages. He doesn't know how to grow proper cabbages. My cabbages are loads better.
Okay. Yeah. So Bones works for all armies, I think, is the main problem, Dan. I don't know about you. Like, you could just say Bones done. Aether Bones could be cool. But they don't want anything else. That's literally their whole modus operandi, right? Like, there's not saying that they have really bland narrative. Not saying that. No one's saying that.
The only interesting thing I could think of for OBR, other than a bed, obviously, is have you ever seen Speckles' Catacross?
Yeah.
Where he's magnetized every one of the dudes. So that as they die, he takes them off. And so at every event he ever brought him to, one of my aims was to get one off, put it in his pint, and play Save the Queen with Cat across his little dudes. So what you could do is start the game, put all of them on little magnetic bases, or every time you kill one, make them an objective because you'd only go for that one. I tell you what, you didn't want one thrown in a pint.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, that kind of gives me an idea then. If armies are taking Cat across, what if you just did a series of the little, the thrall guys that are working on the skull catapult thingy, and have them like painting a beautiful mural of him? Like one is like chinking away, like carving away at some stone. Another one's got their like easel with a thing and a little palette, and they're just like painting away and doing a beautiful picture of him. Because obviously he would need, he's got all of those advisors. Logically, he has a castle somewhere with just a lot of bespoke carved busts and wall-mounted paintings. I think some art would be a beautiful way to go for him.
That would be. I also like Starl Ertz's suggestion that you just get very small Jenga pieces in a bone Jenga sub-game on either 60 or 65 mil base. Ultimately, you'll never tell the difference.
Apparently.
Wait, so serious suggestion, says Dwarf Penguin. Now that they've invaded the 8 points, which they have, the Osark Bone Reapers have got like a bastion in there and captured Chaos Warriors, Warcraft Fighters. That's cool. Generally, like, I suppose you could you could have like a collection of body parts, because I don't know if they take, like, do you when they come for the tithe, does anyone know this? Do you have to give them, if they're like, we want loads of bones, and like you chop off like a bunch of people's arms, and they like also take the meat off that? Like, do you have to do the graft as well?
I think this is a question that we need an answer to, which is
back out with your billboard.
Like, are they choosing beggars? Like, are they just like, hey, give us all your bones? Because the thing is, if they have to come and take the bones, they're going to murder you, and they're going to have to carve all of that meat off anyway. So either way, they're probably doing the carving. And I think if I'm like, I've just gone to the trouble of like hobbling my civilians to give you all of these feet, and then they're like, yeah, but did you really finish the job? I'd be like, all right, fine. No feet for you then. And they're like, we'll just come and kill you and take it. And I'm like, great. You were going to do that anyway. And this way I don't have to do all the horrifying clean work.
Oh, then we know what they want. OBR, objective markers. 6 butchers.
Oh, nice.
Done. That's what they want. They kill everything else. They want the butchers. They can't be bothered to do the work themselves.
Yeah. I really like real poly geek who said depends on if your union rep negotiated a better contract or not. It's all about right, okay, all right. That's OC Arcs. That's some fun little stuff. And also, by the way, if anyone is inspired by this conversation at all and does produce some hobby, makes themselves some objective markers, I'd love to see them. I think it'd be super cool, really fun to see. So Death, obviously, other ones is Flesh Eater Courts is the next. I think Flesh Eater Courts. Now, obviously, the weird thing about the Flesh Eater Courts is they themselves think that they're these heroic knights.
I made Flesh Eater ones.
Did you?
Only narrative bases I ever made.
And what were they?
I only have one left, so I made a bone sword in a stone.
Oh, okay. So like for the king. So
yes. Because they think that they're basically knights, right? So I tried to make, so there was a grail that was like a skull head on a bone, a sword made out of just bone bits in a stone. Yeah. So that was basically sense. Made like old medieval like lore, I guess, objects and items.
You sound really sad about it. Like you're like, I did this thing, and
it was really good fun at the time, but it was a lot of effort. And then normally no one ever really ever like, I don't know. I think it was probably when I was still playing in store, and no one really ever was. Everyone was just like, oh no, I'll just put these down. I was like, okay, fine. Okay. So I've never made any since.
Oh, that's fun.
The chat's got a bunch of really good ideas for this one, and I kind of like it. Swanor Rurik, or no, sorry, we have to get the names wrong. Swanor Urik. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Sorry, man. Almost got it right there. Says mirrors with like regal free guild citizens as the reflection. That would be really cool. Like they run up and that's how they see themselves. And then a couple of people like Provoked Tur-E says that like gore vaguely in the shape of chivalrous stuff, which I love that idea. Like I love the background and the fiction for Flesh Eater Courts. I think it's possibly one of the most interesting in the game for me. And I just think it's so cool. Like you could have a field day with these.
I think you could. I think I like the idea that you like lean into that they don't see the world around them as obviously as their scene. So like they're going after like heraldic flags, grails was another suggestion in the chat, which I thought was great. Like reliquaries, I think is a quite cool little idea as well. I think someone also suggested like a feasting table, which I thought was quite cool. Like, you know, they've been like, you know, they go into the feasting table and they're at the high court. I thought that was funky as well.
I remember a piece of a short story I read about some flesh eaters, and they were chasing this woman with her baby, and to them they were a lord and a lady riding a horse chasing this person. Meanwhile, she was seeing these monsters chasing her. And they thought they were chasing a feral beast. When they got her, she managed to hide the baby. Then she stepped out so that they would sacrifice herself for the baby. So they got this feral beast and they slew it. And then they like turned around, they were congratulating each other. And then in their mind, they turned around and somebody had prepared a lovely picnic for them, and they sat down and ate this picnic, which was obviously this lady that just chopped up. So you could have a nice picnic blanket set out, hampers, that sort of stuff. But inside the hamper is somebody's head, and there's an arm and a leg, and that sort of
would
stuff.
be so cool. That would be, that's great.
There's another one I remember reading where these Stormcast are kind of marching through a forest, and I think it's a ghoul comes out and like stands in front of them, and in its head like bows and is like, "Welcome to the lands of Lord Haberdashery and his wonderful blah blah. You are welcomed, and please make peace as you wander through." And to the Stormcast, this ghoul just came out and just like vomited blood on the ground and was like, "Ah!" So of course they like killed it, and then immediately all of the Flesh Eater Courts attacked them, and suddenly they're like the Stormcast were this invading army of feral people as opposed to what they'd seen a moment before. And I think that there's so much you could do with like you were saying, like a banner, like have it half banner and then the other half is just a wet limp thing of flesh hanging down off the end or something like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think you got some really good options for Flesh Eater Courts, and I love the suggestions that we've seen so far. So yeah, unless anyone's got anything else, I think that's good. That's fun. They seem like the most fun one to do straight off the bat, right? But maybe it'll get more interesting. What I also like is just quickly is that you can go like really, really out there. You know, like someone suggested doing a mirror base and then painting on the base the reflection of what the model looks like. If that makes sense, like in its delusion, which is way better than I could do. Also, surely someone can green stuff like, you know, like a peasant and a ghoul, so they kind of like they're like in each other, or like, you know, half and half. I don't know. You could do some really fun stuff, I guess. All right, next one. What I was going to say was, but you could do all that. You can go all the way, or you could just use some bits you find in your bits box, which is fine as well. You know, just some random stuff. Are we saying that Flesh Eater Courts are the most fun army? No, Speckles. No, we're not. And no one in the chat is. Not one person. All right, next army.
You gotta give him points for being a trier, though.
Yeah, all right. I will. And love and cuddles when I can see him one more time. Speckles is actually on my my dance card for 2021.
One more time.
I'm playing Speckles a whole day of Warhammer against Speckles. It's going to be great. Super fun. Right. Okay.
You're playing a whole day of Warhammer against Flesh Eaters every time.
I'll play as long as I get to hang out with Speckles for a whole day. I'll play any army.
Okay.
Yeah, any army. Right. So next army that is available is Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt.
Just a load of bed sheets for them to play ghosts.
The Scooby Gang. Absolutely, if your objectives aren't the Scooby Gang, you're making a huge mistake.
Or the Ghostbusters.
Or the Ghostbusters, yeah, true. Yeah.
Ecto 1. Just driving around the board.
Chains. The Mystery Machine is some suggestions. Slimer from Ghostbusters. Jack-o'-lanterns.
A large stone man kicking a wall. Yes. It's like, piss off, ghost.
Piss off, ghosts. What about some bodies for them to, like, inhabit? Do the ghosts do the Nighthaunt? I don't think the Nighthaunt do the whole, like, inhabit the body sort of thing, do they?
No, I don't think so.
You could use the non-Nighthaunt old black coach model and have a little light up sign over it that says this model is actually a hero.
You could do that. You could do that. Bruce Willis, another suggestion. That's pretty good. Loads of Bruce Willises.
I'd love to see 6 Bruce Willises on the board.
Just from all of his different movies as well. You know, like, so that you have to work out which one is the ghost. Like, have him crawling through a vent, jumping off a plane.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. It shouldn't actually be Bruce Willis. It should be Haley Joel Osment. Should be who it really is. Patrick Swayze, another good suggestion. He is another ghost, of course. Casper and all of his friends. I think, but what would the ghosts want to actually? What
do they want in life?
Yeah, what are the Nighthaunts?
Aren't they trying to repent for the crimes they did in life?
Okay,
yes.
So go with me on this one then.
Okay.
A series of doors. Because what do the ghosts really want? You need the doors to be open so that they can be aiming for closure.
Closure.
There we go.
I
That's
think
good.
Open doors.
Gonzo from the Muppets.
Right.
Or just
and the rat, can't think of his name. Because, you know, they're all the ghosts of Christmas past and such. Muppets Christmas Carol. And then you can have some Muppets on the board. Little Muppet Lego.
We're not just naming other ghosts. We're like, what do the ghosts want? Like, when
I'm
the ghosts...
pretty sure, aren't they repenting? Maybe we should have some, like, Sigmar Bibles they're trying to get to.
Just have some little tunnels with lights at the end, and then they can go up the tunnel to the light.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. That's fun, yeah. Or you could do some cool-ass grave sites, or even just some coffins, you know, so they're like, finally they can rest, I think. But I do like the idea of the light at the end of the tunnel. That's a good one. There's enough thanks for that. Pottery wheels. Right, yeah, none of them. Pottery wheels.
Yeah, 6 pottery wheels, 8 pottery wheels, whatever.
Really, imagine your face. You go to a tournament and someone's got a Nighthaunt army, and their 6 objective markers are Demi Moore. Is it Demi Moore? At a pottery wheel, yeah, and you're like, you are fucking mental. Let's play Warhammer. Let's go.
And
genuinely,
they just play that
though,
song from Ghost the whole way through.
The whole idea with them being tormented, it'd actually be kind of cool. Like, you could do one that was themed around each unit. Like, I think there's ones that were like poachers or that hunted people in real life. So you could have like a hunted body, you know, like your objectives could be reflective of the sins that they committed that got themselves turned into Nighthaunt in the first place. Like rather than making pottery wheels, which obviously is the superior choice.
It's a good choice. Yeah. I like the idea of them also trying to like take over bodies as well, or just return to the grave so they can finally rest. I think that works. Pieces of a coffin or the vampire inside from Rampant Boat Crime. Yes. Right, okay. All right, so that's Nighthaunt. I don't think we've come up with a good one for Nighthaunt there, other than Demi Moore at a pottery wheel.
I think we're ignoring the doors.
Yeah.
Isn't a therapy session down? It's Warhammer.
Okay, whatever.
Put your pants
fine.
back on.
Yeah.
Execution sites. Execution sites is a good one. What about like the site of where they died? So, like, their dead body, if that makes sense. Like, some horrific murder scene. A little, like...
Oh my god, you could just have those outlines they have at crime scenes. 8 of them, one with each weapon for every unit that you have.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Or they could each have... You could have 8 individual roses, because they're all trying to woo Lady Olinda. Because, you know...
That's true.
She's the sexiest bedsheet.
Zaddy Guy says maybe they could be tournament placement boards because the Nighthaunts really would like to get back on there at some point. Which is,
Yeah, good.
All right. So lastly is Legions of Nagash, the catch-all, anything you can think of, Legions of Nagash. I think a suggestion I saw from Velatron earlier in the chat, which I thought was great, would be all of the things... If you guys don't remember the story from before Nagash was reformed, Arkan was on a big mission to claim all of the relics of Nagash so that he could reform Nagash. So there were the books, and there was like the sword and everything else. So, I mean, if you had enough money, you could just chop up a Nagash and use those as the objectives, which would be quite funky. But if not, you could just do like the Necrocomicons or whatever. So like a bunch of like books. You could do, which I think would be quite fun, or like some tomes of massive power. Obviously, Nagash is all about that realm stone, isn't he? He's all about that death realm stone. So you could just do that, I guess.
Do you know what you could also do?
What?
8 kneeling Cetras.
You could.
Also, it requires quite a large back balance.
I think the other thing that you could do, which would be really cool, I love all the stories of Nagash going around and killing and absorbing the other gods of death, and that other gods of death try to hide from him. So, like, you could have, I don't know, some kind of representation.
Yeah, that's really clever.
Like, all the other underworlds that he kills. Because remember, like, the Realm of Death has a series, used to, yeah.
But carry on. It's a great point.
Well, like, so... A bit of background for those that don't know the lore. In Shaiish, if enough people believe in an afterlife, it exists in Shaiish. So for as long as there are people believing in Valhalla, Valhalla exists in Shaiish, right?
Yeah.
And if enough people believe, then a god of that afterlife will come to light. And so then what Nagash does is goes around and kills those gods. He lets that afterlife stay there because he wants all those souls, but he kills the god to take kind of ownership of that area. So you could do a bunch of objectives that were symbolic of different types of afterlives. Like surely, like what would the Skaven afterlife look like? Like that's got to be is it just a big hamster wheel? Is it like, you know, like the Scrooge McDuck where he jumps into a pile of gold? Is it just like warp stone and they're like a bunch of cats on too much catnip, just like with all this like
always being
stuff.
able to stab the more powerful rat in the back.
True.
So it's just a line of rats like Human Centipede stabbing the guy in charge of him in the back in a really long line.
And they're really happy about it.
So like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
But sorry, I get it. I do get it though. Gitley's point, you did not come here for sensible suggestions, so I do have another one. Let me float you this one. In the Nagash...
No, that one was brilliant though. Like that was brilliant, I thought. But...
And we could go back to it, but for right now, in the Nagash, the Nagash, the Broken King or Unbroken King or whichever one it is, he's pretty much just a geriatric, forgetful old man who loves to like waffle on, and Arkan just stands there for like days listening to him being like, yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. And he's like, and then did you know that one day I had books and I had 9 of them? And Arkan's like, yep, you did. You know what? You had the best 9 books. It's like, he's like a Trump, right? So what I'm thinking is you just have a bunch of little like survivors of all of that, and with the things that he's lost, being like, yes sir, no, that's right, yep, I've got your handbag here, you put it in the freezer again, found it in the freezer this time, and you're like just a bowl of overfilled dog food next to a dog skeleton because he's like, Fluffy hasn't been eating his food lately, but I want to make sure he has some. Just geriatric Nagash objectives.
I'd like to combine both of Dan's 2 great ideas. So I think we should have a remodeled person from so if we're saying Ragnarok, because that's a nice easy one. So we'd have like a little Viking model, because he's from that realm. Probably painting him a bit ghosty, but then you'd have him in a red cap that said "Make Shyish Great Again."
None of that. None of that. I like Desert Sketch suggestion. Little laughing Skaven running away with pieces of Nagash's pyramid is great from when they were in there during the... Yeah, that's a great idea. That's
They've been in
cool.
all his fucking pyramids. They built the one in the old world, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make it really true to life. You can have a bunch of like white English fellas just nicking bits of pyramid. Like you can make it a bit too on the nose.
Albino rats.
Yeah. But there's some amazing suggestions, Dan. I love the idea of doing like different gods or like little areas. I think that'd be a lot to get in. But you could do some incredible dioramas, right? Like along that lines. Like,
could you do it on a 60 mil? But if it needed to be on a 60 mil, you could also do it on a 65 because they're the same size.
Same size. They're the same. That's a really great suggestion.
What you should do is just put a load of Stormcast because he's after their souls, isn't he? Stormcast and maybe some fucking Ideneth Deepkin and...
in cages.
Yeah, or just dudes.
Just running around. They have little magnetic cages when he catches them.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, just 6 Cetras because everyone was Cetra back. Okay, good suggestions all round. So that's death. That's all the death factions. Nailed it. So you guys in the chat get to choose out of the other 3 Grand Alliances. I'm ready for you to go for it. Destruction. Dwarf Penguin, first in. Destruction! Okay. Let's start with the Mega Gargants. Let's go from...
Obviously, pants.
Just loads of different pants.
Yeah.
Loads of thongs. And just all the different types. Some lingerie, some thongs.
But that one with the little gimp mask could only go after like the PVC stuff.
Tight leather pants.
I think there's some good suggestions already in the chat. I love the idea of doing Johan.
Yeah.
So like all the different Johans reminds me of Darren's entire Johan army. So that would be great if you just had different Johan objective markers. I think that's really clever. Putting a football on instead because they can kick it around, I think is great. Johan gets it for me. I love the idea that it's a Johan. And if you could somehow like change his pose, so it's like different Johans, like running away Johan, doing a handstand Johan.
You have little cheerleader Johans that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You don't need numbers in Age of Sigmar though. Oh,
I know, but it just because why not?
What about a Johan holding a placard?
The other thing that
where's the FAQ?
The other thing that I'd like to see would be like Johans or something like that, but like people that they've forced to dress up that they think are their pets. You know, like they're rocking around and it's just like it's a Johan that's kind of been stuck into like a sheepskin, and they're like, "This is Fluffykins, my pet. Come here, Fluffykins." And it's like, "I just want to leave." And they're like, "Come back, Fluffykins."
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. Nathan?
No, I think Johans are the best answer. It's got to be that, isn't it? I mean, maybe just wearing underpants if you can. You'd have to carefully scrape off all their clothes.
Or what if the objectives could be a bunch of creatures of different armies crawling out of a massive pair of discarded underpants? You know, like they've finally escaped, and they're like,
just all the leftover heads you've got in a box.
Yeah.
I think the best suggestion in the chat, cart of cabbages. I agree with that, absolutely. A whole cart of cabbages, as opposed to individual cabbages. And then golden eggs and a goose is a great suggestion as well. I really like that. Someone also put magic beans, which I thought was a fun little like nod to like other but that's fun. A bean pole from Lofthammer, great suggestion as well. That was cool. You can mix it up, right? A goose with golden eggs. A goose with golden eggs is a great suggestion as well. That would be so funny as well. I've got the
harp. Like all the different things that he finds.
Yeah.
And
then
Jack
just a cow.
himself. Yeah.
And one
A
cow.
cow.
And it's like the cow is the one that is the least like major objective. You're like, oh yeah, that's the one that we probably should have just given away.
They're great suggestions. Fucking, you guys are really talented. This is great. All right, so after Mega Gargants going destruction, we're going for Ogre, more tribes. I mean, immediately your brain goes to piles of flesh, I think, or a butcher's table. I like the idea of different stew pots, or like some sort of dining table or something like that.
A spice rack.
Yes,
because they've got to spice the meat, right? Like they're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that would be that. Breakfast buffets, takeaway signs is a great one. Chop hammer, I really like that. KFC bucket, barbecue buckets of KFC. I like how you guys have got this mental idea of buckets of KFC and fat lads. You've got this real kind of like, I was like, fat lads, you're like, buckets KFC. like word association. Different pictures of Shrek. Oh my god, that's great. Get out my swamp.
I just love it if like there were a bunch of different like like high-tech cooking utensils, like a food processor and like a slow cooker, things like that, where they're just a sandwich press, because clearly that butcher, they
house ones,
just whole ones, a blender, escaping Noblars. I like that. They're trying to get away. It was released in a White Dwarf like a decade ago, but there used to be a game, and it's a game that ogres play called Kick the Noblar, where they just boot a Noblar as far as they can, and whoever boots it the furthest is the winner. Maybe that's what their objectives are. Just a bunch of Noblars with mild to severe impact injuries lying on the ground, and like a distance marker for whoever kicked them the furthest.
I love that idea.
Could have bottles of condiments, so mayonnaise, ketchup.
Sweet chili. That's great. But like a little vat or something, or like a keg or a barrel or something. Although I do love the idea that someone turns up with just like a Heinz mayo objective marker, like we're not sponsored by Heinz mayonnaise, just FYI. Ketchup.
I wish we were though.
I know, me too. I love mayonnaise. Do the Noblars in footy kits and sold. That's great. That's really good. Little Noblars in footy kits. That's good. Hate when your Noblar escapes, then try the new Honest Wargamer Undercarcass.
Good
James,
shout.
That's our tagline.
It should be. I'll steal it.
Yeah.
Dwarf Penguin, thank you for that.
For those moments where your Noblar
tweet
slips
in a
out
bit.
the side.
Can I just take a moment very quickly to discuss something that is maybe one of my favourite Age of Sigmar things at the moment, or maybe ever? Like, I don't know if you guys are in a lot of faction WhatsApp chats.
No,
Dan,
so please tell me more.
James, none. Dan?
Only a couple.
Okay, Nathan?
Gloomspite Gitz one, I think. That's it.
It's the only one you're in. So, the Ogre More Tribes chat, if you guys haven't been in the WhatsApp chat, is full
I'm
of...
in Trog one as well.
They've stopped ever talking about the game, as far as I understand it. Yeah, and they just keep updating each other with what they're having for dinner every day, like constantly, just putting up pictures of what dinner they're having, and it's fucking hilarious.
That's all they've got data on, isn't it?
To be fair, that is all they've got data on. But it's brilliant. They're always like, "What food you having?" And it's just loads of pictures of different dinners. Anyway, so yeah, different meals I think would be fun as well for more tribes. Okay, that's good.
What about just a bunch of like how Skip the Dishes, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, they all have a different bag? Mm-hmm. What if every objective was just a courier with a different delivery bag?
I love the idea. Oh, actually, why don't you do Noblar Deliveroo like dudes?
Yes, done. We found it. We had to work around different cuisine in each bag. One's got a pizza, the other one's got a little bit of ramen or something like that. One of them's just bringing like chips and ice cream from 7-Eleven because you were too lazy to go outside. That's the way, I reckon.
Yeah, on a little bike. That's great. Deliveroo. Oh my god, a Noblar on a moped. That all works. That's all brilliant. Or on a little yak or something. He's just there like, got your food, lads.
And obviously, because it's very easy to get lost, and sometimes, when you're watching them and they're coming to deliver, and then they're like, here, and you're like, oh, there it goes. That's why they have to go and get the objectives, because that's their food, and they're like, I know where my dinner is. I'm going to get it. I'm sick of waiting.
Does that mean every one of the ogres, if those are your objectives, have to have a smartphone in their hand?
Absolutely, they do.
Or no, they could use a magical crow. It's the Mortal Realms. Just make up some magic. Just say the word quartz and aether involved in it, and you've smashed it. An aether quartz screen. Don't need a mobile phone. Also, if someone ever did do that, the game where the Ogre Mawtribes player puts down his little objectives, and then he plays the Gargant player who kicks his Noblar on a Deliveroo bike closer to the hungry lads, is the funniest situation in the world. Yeah, all the lads are like, fucking dinner's nearly here, lads, let's go. Noblar's driving tuk-tuks would be so good. I love tuk-tuks so much. That's perfect.
I think this beats the Flesh Eater Court one.
Huh?
I think this beats the Flesh Eater Courts one.
This is a good one, yeah. All right, next up is Nathan. Gloomspite Gitz.
Cool. Well, obviously, everybody in the Mortal Realms is after something. Those Fire Slayers are after Urgold. Them other Caradron are after Aether Gold. Archeon and his lads want Realm something or other. Fuck knows, stallions. Gloomspite Gitz want people's bottles. Empty bottles, so... Yeah.
Why do they want people's bottles? Everyone in the chat has said this. What the fuck is this thing about? Why does everyone want bottles?
It's the law. That's what Gloomspite. That's what the goblins want, because they can't make their own bottles, and they need bottles to put things in, like all the stuff they make.
What about mushrooms? Yeah. Don't they want mushrooms?
Is this a joke? Is this a joke?
No, that's what they want is bottles. That's why they invade countries and kick cities down. Is because they want the bottles.
Are they? Can I ask you a question then, Nath?
They like recyclers.
Are they home brewing? Is that what it is?
Probably.
Like those people that homebrew and just always want your bottles.
They're homebrewers, but they're bad at it, because I if you've ever anyone who's ever done homebrew, and then at 2 a.m. in the morning, you start hearing that telltale noise that you've made a mistake as the bottles start exploding in your shed. When I used to live in Brisbane, I once had the police called on me because my neighbours heard it and thought it was gunfire. And so then they showed up, and that, it's Australia, so it's not like they kicked down the door or anything. They just came and knocked, and then there I was, very, very bleary-eyed. And they're like, we've had a report of some concerning noise. They believe they heard gunfire, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I know what it is. Come on, and brought them out to this just massacre site of dead beers as they've all popped their bottles and exploded, and they just lost their guts. They're like, this is the funniest thing we've ever seen. We came here ready to hands on the radios, ready to call in support, and realistically we've just got a bunch of awful beer deaths.
Yeah.
Did they try any?
No, but honestly, it was all over the floor and full of broken glass. They shouldn't have.
So I remember this bottle thing now, because Nathan, we kept talking about how you turned into a hippie. I was talking to Fish about this the other day. I was like, oh, Nathan turned into a hippie 3 years ago. I remember clear as day. It was always cutting trees and then recycling bottles. Oh God. Okay, so little piles of bottles, wine racks. You could do that. That would be something. There's loads of those out there, loads. Also, question, is it about the amount of bottles, or would they particularly prize a very large bottle?
I think more bottles are better than one large bottle, but yeah, they'd look after all your bottles for you, mate. Take your bottles.
Quality over quantity. Quantity over quality.
Quantity over quality.
Now, not that you would ever not use them in the game, as Desert Sketch has pointed out, but what if you used the Gobbapalooza as objectives? You had to get the Gobbapalooza back together.
Oh, they're a band. Do you remember when Take That broke up and there was a phone line? Do you think if the Gobbapalooza breaks up, Nathan will need a phone line?
Yeah.
There was
Definitely.
a phone line.
Yeah, when Take That broke up, there was a phone line you could phone to talk about it if you were sad.
Okay, so to anyone who's 20, imagine BST, only worse. Break up, and you had to phone people, but there were no TikToks available. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed that for a 20-year-old. There's a 20-year-old listened to that and went, "You've got me there, son. I appreciate you." Just explaining what James just said. Okay, all right. I think there's some good suggestions. I mean, that's just the Gitz, though, right? It's just the Gitz that like the bowls.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Gitz. So yeah, I guess the Trogs are after mushrooms, big ones, little ones, or other Gitz to eat, or maybe a shiny stone.
Shiny stones is good. What about what about Trogettes?
Yeah. That would be something that would attract, that they would want to objectify and go after.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest a points change.
Oh, wow!
Like that, because then just
without data. What you mad?
Yeah, like it just says Trog herd and then 50 points, and that's the objective that the Trog herd obviously wants to go after.
Each one of the Trogs are like heading towards it. They're just
they're just like, oh, if we get it, or like it's -10. Every one they get reduces the price of their thing by 10 points.
And it'd still be overpointed.
I like that, Colonel Cabbage. Good suggestion. Trog gifts for the Trogoth princess is great. Because what is the motivation of the Trogs? Like, does anyone know? Like, what are they out there?
Nobody knows. Many people have tried to find out, but nobody knows. Quite a few people doubt if the Trogs know as well.
Okay. All right, frogs with crowns. All right, okay. That's good. I don't think the Trogs know. I love that no one knows. Someone's like, "Why are you here?" They're like, "We're not sure either, but we're here, so we're getting involved."
Well, have you heard about that city that got invaded? And then they were like, "We're being invaded by Trogs, being invaded by Trogs." And the Trogs come storming through. They've smashed the front gate down. Smash, smash, smash. They got into the city centre. Smash, smash, smash. They've gone out the back gate.
They just went all the way through.
What are they doing? Oh, we were just in the way. Where did they go? They just walked into the sea. About 4 years later, there was a city on the other side of the sea. It's like the Trogs are coming out of the sea. Through the city, out the back gate. What's going on? Nobody knows.
Joel in the chat said the Trogs are just trying to find an FAQ like the rest of us.
That works. That works.
For data.
I kind of love the idea that Trogs are just constantly going towards something. They don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. It's like every battle they fight had nothing to do with them. They were just moving through into the next area. And everyone was like, "Oh gosh, they're coming to kill us." And the Trogs are just like, "Oh no, we got to get through here." And they're like, "Oh, why? Where are you going?" And they're like, "Well, when we get there, we'll know."
Where are you going? When we get there, we'll know.
They're just a bunch of backpackers on a Kentucky tour. They got to keep moving, otherwise they'll slow down and have to think about what they got to do with their lives.
Wait, is this show a Trog herd? I'm very confused. We don't know where we're going, but we're going somewhere. Oh.
We can't stop moving.
Oh,
like a bunch of sharks, we'll die.
Okay. Well, all right, fun. So what about spiders then? What about the spiders?
Well, the big spiders are after wizards, aren't they? They like get drawn to wizards, so for some reason.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like the Skitterstrand ones are drawn towards wizards.
Oh, because they want to murder them, don't they?
Yeah, carry them away and yeah.
I think a lot of people I think the spiders might be going towards a sign that asks, or how come 5 spiders are more expensive than 10 skinks? But it's a whole different conversation. Like that you could break down. 40 points difference between 5 spiders and 10 skinks. Don't know if you know that. 40 points difference.
Because you get so many more models.
Exactly, James. You've smashed that. That's exactly right. And opticians, wizards turn into mushrooms like Scragrot owns. The spiders. I feel like that they would just be going after something hungry.
Flies. Yeah.
Yeah, flies. Flies is a good one. Yeah, that's fun.
What about just like cans of? See, there's another side of this that we need to go for, and that's what they want to keep away from your opponent. So what about like cans of like raid or insect repellent or something, or mosquito coils? You know, like I just think that would be also an option that we haven't explored.
It's true. Yeah, that works.
I'm for Scott Brent's in the chat. Just Toby Maguire's.
Loads of hobbits.
That works. What about the
Spider-Man?
What about the different? Yeah, what about the different Spider-Men from Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah. Oh, you could have that little robot one.
Yeah, really, or the little pig one. Super great. Age of Sigmar style Spider-Man villains is also a great suggestion. Provoke tree. That works.
Oh
really
my god,
well.
we've just found a use for Lotan. The octopus is Doc Ock.
You could just buy all of the MCU.
Those are some expensive models for objective markers.
Are they?
Yeah.
Never mind. Let's get out of there. Peter Porker. It should just all be Peter Porkers. That's all the destruction factions, right? Mega Gargants, Ogres.
Ironjawz.
Of course. Ironjawz and Bone Splitters. I'm going to split them up. Ironjawz first. What are Ironjawz after? A blacksmith, piles of armor, some weapons. I like the idea that maybe you could get them some, has anyone ever used Wing Chun dummies? Or, generally boxing.
Oh, yeah.
As if you were doing some training, you were doing some boxing training or some martial arts training. You could have those. Like, that would be quite fun. Like the medieval ones where it's like a big bit of wood and a shield and a sword. That would be super fun. I love that idea. And they just
You could just get the cheerleaders from the Blood Bowl kit.
The orc cheerleaders.
Them ladies, them lady.
Ooh.
Them lady orcs. Them lady orcs.
The suggestion of lady orcs suggests, and sorry to bring this up.
You could use some gentleman orcs too.
You could.
And some nondescript type orcs.
You could do the gamut of
spectrum.
The orc spectrum. Yeah. However, the orc spectrum does suggest that there's orc. I'm going to try and put this right. Smashing and bashing that goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yes.
Probably not behind the scenes, just all over the scenes. Yeah.
Probably. They're looking for a fight. Put Joe hands on the objectives. I think that's a good idea. I think basically you put anything on the objective that they could fight would be something that they'd be fairly keen for. Is there any other narrative that, other than loving fighting, is there any other kind of desire that the orcs have?
Should just have some people punched into the ground, so just a head surrounded by dirt. Just crump them into the ground.
Okay, that works. Boxing rings is a good idea. Teeth. Aren't teeth's a 40k thing, I think, Freaks and Deeds. I don't think that translates over to Age of Sigmar, but you could add that to yourself as well, that they're going for that currency. Piles of pig poo. It's legit where they get their armor. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the gore grunters.
Pig iron, yeah.
Yeah. The gore grunters chew their way through armored people, and then the orcs pick out the bits of armor that comes out the crap. And use it to make their army. And
I'm sorry I have to ask this question. But how big is a gore grunter's arsehole?
Well, no, I think
can get one of your models and have a look.
And comes out as nuggets that they use, I believe.
I think it's quite flexible. And then they just beat the armor into their body shape by sort of just hammering it on themselves.
I imagine they clean it first. Well, not them,
I
but
don't think so.
There'd be some grot whose job it is to clean it for sure.
I don't think that bothered about the cleaning of it.
But aren't ard boys effectively like pledges in like an American frat? So I can only imagine that the whatever they are, I don't really understand the way that their schooling system works. But I can imagine them hazing them by being like, I need you to go through the poo, find all of the metal and clean it. Sorry, I feel like you're struggling with this. Anyone who grew up or spent time on a farm, cleaning poo off things is pretty normal to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cleansing.
I like the idea of the Jurassic Park Triceratops poo pile with an Ellie Sattler with a hand in. Done.
So that's just, we're doing piles of shit. Is what we're doing.
Piles of shit. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, go through your bits box. There'll be loads of bits of armor, and just cover it in poo. And
you just get some milli putty and like put it in one of them things to pipe ice in for a cake.
It would also be the funniest situation. Like you put your objective markers down, and your opponent's like, it's a bit immature, and you like dead eye him, and you go, it's actually the fucking narrative. Yeah, read a book. Yeah.
I also like the idea that because the orcs want it, someone else would be fighting over piles of poo.
No, you can't have it.
Yeah, it's our poo. Get off.
Oh my god! If someone does create that, please, obviously, do send us a picture. It'd be fascinating to see. Okay. What about the bone splitters? Obviously, they're out for hunting bones around the mortal realms. I like the idea of doing different animal heads. You know, like prizes. So, like, like a chimera head. I mean, if you bought that kit and just chopped the head off 3 times, you'd be laughing. You could like, do you know what I mean?
Nagashi's head.
Nagashi's head. He's a monster, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nagashi's head.
Dorgoth's head. Heads.
Yeah. Totems is a great idea. Totems is a really cool idea. You could do some super funky like totems for bone splitters. That would actually be so cool. That's really fun. Love that idea. That'd be sweet. You got any thoughts on these, Dan James?
I think for me, orcs are the most interesting one. Like almost all of them, just the things you can do are really, really awesome. So I like the idea of totems. I also think the other cool thing that orcs would do really well is like appropriating other things. Like give me I don't know, something that a Sigmar, like a bunch of Stormcast that they've stuck their armor on poles and then painted it green, to be like, this is what we think of you. Like I can imagine them wanting to stick it to the man.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it would be all statues from all the different people, like a Daughters of Cain statue, but then just orcified up a bit. Maybe draw a moustache on her and add a penis and that sort of stuff. Be real immature. And go,
or what about just prisoners of war that have been painted green? They're just like, hey, check it out. We caught this elf and we painted it green.
I like the idea of orcs cosplaying as other races. That could be super fun conversion.
That's great.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Oh, look at me, boss. I'm a Ponzi elf. Here's me hat.
Here's me big hat. And it's got a pile of crap on its head.
Here's me big hat, and it's just a cow's head that's been like cut off and stuck on his head. It's like bleeding down, and he's like, I'm an elf.
I'm an elf now. That works. That's great. B. Levo came up with a good idea. Chained up young Maw Crushers would be super fun. If you could ever actually imagine paint that up or actually convert that, that would be cool. Or even little baby pigs. What about little Gorgrunter farm?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Cute. Yeah.
I'm still with the poo idea.
Yeah, I know you are.
That's the best idea.
Okay, all right. Well, I think that's we haven't done bone splitters. No, bone splitters. We've done totems. I think that's the best one. I think totems is a good idea, and obviously different heads from different animals that they've hunted. Someone also put footprints, which I thought was a cool idea.
Yeah, they're trackers, aren't they? Yeah.
Mhm.
That'd be really fun, you know, just get like one of your other models as well, like if you haven't based it yet or whatever, and, you know, and it just like push it into some green stuff and just make a couple of track prints that'd be sweet. That looks super cool. Yeah, that's funky. So just keeping an eye on the time, because I know James has got a call actually later. Then maybe because Destruction Order will take us just as long, so maybe we should leave that till next week. I'm sorry to cut the fun short. I don't want to be that guy, but it could be a cool idea. I didn't know this would be quite as fun as it was, right? Because it's fun. So
now I really want people to make them, and I really want someone to make the poo one. That's the most, like, to the point where I'm like, can I build an Ironjawz army just to make some poo things? And then I'm like, probably quite expensive commitment.
Honestly,
but worth it.
I was about to say that's the one that's got me the most. Like, that's the army right now that the idea of doing their objectives has me wanting to do their army. Them and Flesh Eater Quartz. They're the two.
Yeah, I think so there's a good point being made in the chat. It says Tarquin X, and I want to make sure it's said as well. The problem with cool looking objectives is it's kind of impractical. I get that, but like, what's nice about like getting the objective rings, let's say, that we sell, is you could get those, and then you could also obviously put these on top, and then you can take these off at any point, because really the ring does the job for you, so you can kind of move them when they do become impractical. I think these things are really awesome to have on the table. Like the conversation I had about it the other day really inspired me. I mean, didn't even talk about the other elements, which you obviously could do as well, which was you could add in, like, if you cast a spell, let's say, which is something I used to do for my Spider-Fang, if Nathan remembers. Like, if you cast a spell, then you could have some sort of like physical token, but instead of just a token that says +1 to hit, you could have like, you know, a flaming arrow, or who knows what it is, right? Yeah. Something cool that you could put on a base next to your unit, which would look awesome.
Well, that's what I used to do with my Dispossessed, is like, I had little axes, little shining golden axes just on a tiny little 25mm base, that if I put Forge Fire on the unit and gave it +1 rend, I was like, cool, there we go, that's the token to show off that. Or if I did the 6-up DPR, I had a little like ethereal looking shield on a base that I'd put next to him. And I think that those are always a really cool way to do it, because you will know, and even if, like, honestly, I rarely know what buffs my opponent puts their little token down that says like Fire Frenzy or whatever next to their unit. I'm like, I don't know what that does. I just know that they've got a buff. So seeing tokens like that for me is just as good. I'm like, cool, there's a buff and it looks cool as well.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you could have done that as well. I didn't think to add that in, but obviously you could go wild with this, and it's a super fun subject. So we'll do Chaos and Order next week. And if it, like, this was only meant to be a fun little show to make us have some fun with our days, because I think one of the things that came up over the weekend is some people were saying like, oh, like the FAQ wasn't a big deal, like, as an example. And I think one of the things for me and for some other people, I'm not saying everyone, you know, there was some disappointment, but also, and I think this is really important, you want something to fire up your hobby. You want stuff to inspire you, right? You want stuff to be like, because some days the motivation's hard, or like lockdown's been going on for a long time now, you know, people are trapped in, or whatever the situation, people are like, there's this thing I want to escape to and this is fun. So I was like, what could we do? And I'm hoping this has been a really good kind of like counter to like last week and kind of maybe some disappointment in Age of Sigmar, in that there's like loads of, because I've rarely seen these objective marker things done by people. And it would be super cool. Someone even suggested the other day, like, it's mandatory in a tournament pack. And I liked that. I was like, what is 6 extra things or 8 extra things? Like, is that like a big deal?
Yeah, like back in the old book, but when we were, max was like 6 objectives, almost every tournament pack in Australia used to say you had to bring 3 objective markers. Like, each player had to bring at least 3. So, and it was cool because you'd rock up and you'd be like, whose objectives do you want to use? And you'd look at them and you'd be like, we'll use mine, or we'll use yours, or whatnot. And yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's one of the things I'm going to do, actually, for my armies, which is I'm very much looking forward to. My ogre pirates and my pirate more tribes, which I'm very much looking for. I'm just going to do little chests of gold. Like, they're pirates, that's what they're going for. Super boring, I know. But I even was tempted to potentially like do a little like pirate map that I keep with me when I play with them, which I thought would be super funky. But the hobby's
better
really...
than cabbages. Oh, that's good.
Nathan, those cabbages are being painted up as we speak, my friend. I went and found them, and I was like, every time I play Nathan, the cabbages are coming right out. I think that was good. Did any of these
bottles.
like inspire you loads, James, Dan, Nath, before we head out?
Yeah, I definitely. I definitely like playing with the objectives. When we used to go to Firestorm a couple of times, you got points for taking objective markers. I made some like mushroom-shaped dolmens or whatever they're called. It's like stone things. So that was quite fun to do. I should do that again, but with bottles. Now that the story's moved on.
With bottles. I love that idea. Yeah, all right, sweet. Yeah, I'm really into that. Oh, wait. There you go. Provoke Tree, thank you. He's found a link to some bottles. Bottles and small bottles available. $6 euro. Don't worry, Nath. Or 3D printer can go burr and I can make you some bottles. Those are some other ways of doing it. James, which one are your favourite? Chat, which is your favourite?
Definitely the Pulse of Poo.
Yeah, that's a great idea. My Ironjawz army.
I also, do you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because like we talk quite a lot about Warhammer. I can't even think how long I've been on the show for now. And yet tonight I learned that grots are after bottles. Did not know that. Mm-hmm. I did not know that Ironjawz armor comes from poo. So I learned 2 things.
I mean, way more than you normally learn on this show. Let's be real.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Them destructive people are very sophisticated. But you didn't know about the Troggoths not knowing anything. Because they
didn't know, and we didn't know. Dan, what was your favourite?
I'm going to go Flesh Eater Quartz. Flesh Eater Quartz got me, and honestly, I'm excited for them to get a little bit. Next time they get more models, I'll probably jump on that army, because the only thing holding me back from playing that army at the moment is there's not enough unit variety to get me excited. But yeah, again, I've said it. I think they are my favorite lore in Warhammer, and so I'm excited to do an army of them. And I'm almost excited to do objectives before I do the rest of the army.
Yeah, the two that really got me, Flesh Eater Quartz, I thought was great. I love the idea of doing like some Bretonnian or some heraldic stuff. I thought that would look sweet. And then I think the other one that really sung to me, only because your idea was so good, Dan, was the idea of doing like some afterlives or something, like, or like what would a god of of this realm be? And I think that's super cool. I don't know how you would really get that on, like, I don't know, what size are we talking? Are we talking like 40 mil bases?
32 to 40, I guess, yeah.
40 for a bit more playroom? I feel like 40 feels about right.
You could easily do the base, couldn't you? So you could do a 25 on the bottom for the objective marker and a 60 to 80 mil on the top. It doesn't matter once the base is one size.
That's very true. Also, big shout out to Noblar Takeaway Deliveries. That was a good one as well. That's fun.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what? I'm going to take it back from poo. That's my favourite one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because I just love the idea that someone would get like the little moped, the guy on the bike, the guy that's lied and said he's on a bike, but he's actually in a car because he gets paid more for being on a bike. I'm all in.
All right, well, sweet. Listen, you three have been brilliant. You got any shout outs before we head out? Twitch chat, you've all been amazing. Thank you for today. Thank you also for being like a really like great part of the hobby and also the community. I love the show that we have on a Monday, as well as all the shows obviously that we do. But it's just so awesome to be able to hang out with you guys and like be able to have like critical conversations about stuff and also fun conversations about stuff. So you're an amazing community, and I can't thank you enough for being here. You superstars. Any shout outs before we go? Obviously, under Gargants, you guys have got that. James?
Yeah, shout out Pants.
Okay, perfect. Dan, any shout outs?
Shout out Pants with Nathan's face on, because it went down really well when he saw him. I'll show them in the chat.
I've been giving James shit for roughly 6 months about them, so just like everybody else, I'm going to shout out Under Gargants, because given how just about every week I dragged him over the coals, I'm gonna stand up for him now and be like, just like a good FAQ, better late than never, and better late than dodgy. So, and I'm gonna put in my order this afternoon.
I love the idea of us all turning up to a real life tournament in the future, and we all just kind of like go, you got your undergarments on.
I like the idea of how annoyed Nathan's going to be when he has to walk around an event and everyone keeps showing his underwear and be like, it's you! It's you!
Bunch of
The only thing that I would have loved would be, because they obviously come in black for a traditional look, white for a bit more of a crisp finish. I could have used brown for when I come and put my army on the table and I realize I'm facing down just eel spam, just so that my opponents can't see my terror. That's fine though. That's black will probably do the trick there as well.
Hey Dan, I printed out 20 sharks, like pennies, to make that army. So fun. Nathan, any shout outs for you?
No. All
Perfect.
good. Thanks. Yeah.
Flawless.
What about base sizes now?
Fuck. Yeah. Whatever. Bastards. Absolute bastards. 65 and 60 is the same thing.
It is. Twitch chat, don't forget to join us tomorrow morning where me and Owen, I'll be playing some Nighthaunt versus Owen's Living City. Also Wednesday morning, exciting for Nathan, I will be playing my Nighthaunt against the Warhammer Freedom Fighter Adam Jackson's Spiderfang army, which will be an exciting thing. So don't forget to tune in at 9 a.m. British Summertime BST. I know Owen Jackson, right? How exciting. We've also got the winner of the LVO Nopen. Oh, winner? Yeah, let's go for that. The winning list writer. And also the 40k Jason show tomorrow. So it'll be super fun. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. Thank you everyone on Twitch. Subscribing. Look after yourselves. See you guys next week.